Hey everybody, we're here in Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook. Jason Chucky for the Sports Betting Podcast. Bookends, powered by STN Sports. It's here, Jay. It's hard to believe that the big game is here in Vegas. It's Super Bowl week, and now it's time to really get into it and have some fun with all the props, the bets that are rolling in, and it's a different vibe. I can feel kind of the electricity, the hype, the vibe. Everybody's walking around with one of these prop packets. It's fun that the big game is here.
Yeah, and we started to feel some of that electricity last week when you walked in the sports book and kind of walked, in. It felt elevated, and now as we get into this week and we're getting closer and closer to the game, you definitely feel it. And the wagering activity at the counters, at the kiosks, and on the mobile app is starting to pick up. And I think we're in for a monster weekend, and you can kind of feel that excitement in all of us.
When you say it's starting to pick up, I think it's already there. I mean, I think you look at our overall handle on the game from where we were, say, last year at this point on the Tuesday before. We're seeing an uptick of roughly 35% or more. You've seen already some six-figure bets start to roll in. If that's any indication, I think this has the potential to be a record bet Super Bowl legally here in the state of Nevada.
Yeah, and we talked about it here in the state. We did $179 million in 2022. Projections have us coming in somewhere around that standpoint. I think we blow those numbers away with the Super Bowl being here, the number of props that we have on the board, the live wagering,
right, yep.
The ability to play mobile, kiosk, over the counter. It's never been easier to make a bet. We throw in the Taylor Swift bringing in a new customer base.
He said it.
A new customer base to the audience. I think we're up over 200 million as a state, and I think we're going to enjoy some big monster handles on the game.
I think it's
So for that said, make sure you get here Friday and Saturday. Get in line early. Don't wait till Sunday.
Not only get in line, get
Make
signed
your bets
up.
Early.
Get signed up for STN Mobile, so you have the sports book, right in the palm of your hand. If you're having a party, if you're going to the game, this way you have all these betting options right with you. And I think what's cool about it, and I equate it a little bit to like the Kentucky Derby. If you live in Kentucky and when the Derby rolls around, you're either going to a party or you want some action, you want something to root for. It doesn't matter if you're a $10 bettor or a $10,000 bettor. You're going to want a piece of this. It's the first ever Super Bowl here in Las Vegas, something we couldn't even advertise or talk about on the big game broadcast. Now it's here. It's in our backyard, and I think that just adds to all the excitement, the hype, as you said, the electricity. It's just a different vibe right now, which I think is exciting for us.
Yeah, and it's exciting, and that's why I think you're seeing the prop packet grow and
right.
grow and grow. Up to 28 pages here at Station Casinos. It was a lot of fun putting it together, and I know that everybody's coming in and taking a gander at all the different props that we put up, and I know we're particularly proud in the same game props, something that you can bet on the app. You build it all by yourself. You can select all the players, the score of the game, the total, the money line, all the different receptions, yardage, touchdowns. You build whatever you want, but that's available on the app. So when you come in and you bet at the kiosk or on the counters, some of those same game props aren't available to you because they're on the app, but not at Station Casinos.
Creativity at its finest.
Check out pages 16 and 17. We spent hours and hours putting about 40 of these same game props already pre-built for you, getting odds from 5 to 15 to 1 on 3 or 4 happenings within the game. Niners to win, McCaffrey to score, and Travis Kelce to have over yardage, and a bunch of different stuff like that we put together. So a lot of fun to go through these packets, and I think there's a lot of fun wagers and a lot of chances to make some big money. We didn't go to the even money type bets. We put a lot of them out there that are big, 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1, where you're putting down little money to get some big paybacks.
Well, on the game itself, we haven't seen a whole lot of movement now for over a week in the point spread. The same with the total, but we're getting a lot more chief money, both on straight, money line, and a lot of over money right now.
Well, I'll give you the statistics. As we sit today, 63% of the tickets are on the Chiefs +2. 71% of the tickets on the money line are on the Chiefs to win the game at plus $1.10. And the craziest stat of them all, 75% of the tickets are on the over 47.5. So we're seeing a lot of cheap money and a lot of over money.
So, in other words, we're really hoping for some defense.
It looks like we're going to be big Niner fans, and we're going to be looking for a low-scoring game. But again, we're only sitting here, early in the week, and we've talked about how easy it is to place your bet. We're still going to see a vast majority of our money come in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm not saying that those statistics are going to flip themselves, but I think we're going to see a little bit more balance in those type of wagers as we get closer and closer to kickoff.
I mean, it definitely can change. There's no question about it. I think when you look at these two teams, we know the Niners really had more hype defensively throughout the course of the season, but it was the Chiefs defense that was really a top 5. And you look at what they had given up over the second half of games during the last 10 weeks of the season, they just didn't give up a lot. It's not your prototypical Chiefs team, but you think about last year's Super Bowl against the Eagles, over 70 points scored. This game's indoors. It's going to be great conditions. We know that Mahomes has some familiarity with Allegiant Stadium. He's 4-0 straight up there. He's 3-1 against the number and 3-1 over. And I think all those things bode, for a game like this. The betting public likes to see scoring and bet over, and that's why I think this game is going to ultimately close higher than where it is right now.
Well, when you talk about the Chiefs and why we're seeing all the money on the Chiefs, you throw out all those stats. You throw out the stats on how they perform as underdogs and what Patrick Mahomes has done in the underdog situation. And last week we talked about, and I didn't have the stats in front of me, but Andy Reid as a head coach, when he has 2 weeks of preparation time, when he has the bye week, in the regular season, Andy Reid as a coach is 20-3. When he has those 2 weeks prepared, almost 87%. And in the postseason, he's 7-3 at a 70% clip when he's got those 2 weeks. So a lot of success there for the Chiefs and Andy Reid when they've had this kind of 2 weeks to prepare, let alone the crazy stat that we saw in the last 30 years.
This one's
7 times we've had a Super Bowl where one team travels east to the game and one team travels west to the game. And so now this is the 8th time as the San Francisco 49ers are traveling east to head to Las Vegas, and the Kansas City Chiefs,
although a shorter distance,
traveling west to head to Las Vegas. But the team that's traveled west has won 7 straight times that this has occurred. So, and it's 7-0. The team traveling east has yet to win a Super Bowl when we have a matchup of a team traveling east and a team traveling west playing each other.
And also, you have the stats of how well Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have been together in the role of a small favorite or an underdog, which they are in this particular game. They were underdogs at Buffalo, at Baltimore, won both those 2 games. This is the first time in their tenure together that they are underdogs in 3 straight games. And you look at San Francisco, who did not cover against Green Bay, did not cover against Detroit, really needed big second halves to win those 2 games. So I think that's why the game is kind of settled in where it has right now. I know that we had talked about it leading up to the championship week, and we kind of looked at the playoffs as a whole, and we had mapped out where we thought each game would be depending on the matchup for the Super Bowl. We clearly thought a Niners-Chiefs matchup would be at least 3 points or more. But based on what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, you just couldn't give the Chiefs 3 points. You just can't give number 15 that many points, and Andy Reid coming off a bye 3 points. It would have been really one-sided.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised at all that we went down to 1 and had the game almost at a pick'em game from the way the Niners have looked comparatively to the way the Chiefs have looked in their 3 playoff matchups and knocking off the teams that they did compared to the Niners knocking off the North opponents in Detroit and Green Bay, as the big upset over Dallas kind of came into play to give them what we would call potentially that easier path to get to the big game.
I think when you look at it too, I mean, these 2 teams have the capability of putting a lot of points on the board, but they're also really stout defensively. So I think that's going to be something that I really want to kind of keep an eye on. And when you look at the props, the fact that we're getting a lot of, the ticket count you gave 74% on the over, is that a lot of the props are being bet that way. That if it's Kelsey over in yardage, if it's McCaffrey over, if it's both quarterbacks, Purdy and Mahomes over, and a lot of stuff bet to Kelsey right now, including that special prop against the pop star. We're seeing one-sided action. But I think, that's why, if you like the over, you're really betting these props to go over because you expect a high-scoring game.
Well, let's give it a little look and talk about what's going on with the props and kind of what is the early money that we're seeing on the props and some of the bigger and better props out there for our guests to bet and kind of what we're seeing. And I'll start off just with the kind of the most 2 popular props out there that we normally end up with massive liability if either of these occur in a Super Bowl.
Can I guess?
Go ahead and guess.
I'm going to say, will there be overtime? Will there be a 2-point conversion?
And will there be a safety?
And will there be a safety?
So we'll add that.
Yeah.
We'll add that one even
or a
in there
defensive score. There's 4
as a
actually,
third one.
Right?
So always a lot of money on will there be an overtime as you're getting kind of an 8-1 price on your money. Will there be a safety in the game? It's currently plus 650. We've seen several Super Bowls even Super Bowls where the first score of the game has been a safety, where you can get 35-1 on a prop like that. So the
Don't remind me.
Safety is always something that
Peyton Manning. Don't remind me.
The big score. You talked about will there be a successful 2-point conversion? That's been a prop that's been very, very popular, especially with the fact that over the last several years, with the field goals being backed up, we see these teams going more and more for 2-point conversions, and then the defensive or special teams touchdown, always something that's popular to cheer for as you're getting a big plus 220 place. So those three in particular are ones that there's a lot of money on the yes, and we're definitely, from a book standpoint, cheering against those things to happen. And I'll go immediately to our second page as what I think is what every single person wagering on the Super Bowl, you should not walk out of the book or leave your app until you bet the player to score the first touchdown. The ginormous roar that happens in the sports books or your home or the bar or wherever you're going to be, when that first touchdown gets scored, and whether it's on the team you're cheering for or the team you're cheering against, get involved in that prop and pick a guy to score the first touchdown. Have some fun. There's a lot of touchdown scorers in this game.
I'm a little afraid if it happens to be number 87 for the Chiefs is going to sound more like a jet took off than anything else.
Yeah, obviously we talked about Kelce, and you brought it up. Anything positive that Travis Kelce does in this game, every reception that he has, all the yardage that he gains, any touchdown that he scores, we've got a prop up on him to score 2 or more touchdowns. The first touchdown scorer, the MVP, is already a potential disaster, as he could potentially be the first tight end to win an MVP award at a pretty lucrative big price out there on MVP. So Travis Kelce's he's kind of going to be the book's kryptonite in this game. The things that Travis Kelce does well, if he has a big game, there's going to be a lot of people cashing tickets.
We've already heard him say that, let's see, this certain pop star took home a Grammy, and it's his turn to take home some hardware. So we'll see what happens. But I think, with the same game props that have been, everybody was kind of asking for these, and they love them. And the cross-sport props, we've had them for a while right now. What they really create is kind of water cooler chatter, media chatter. Everybody wants to kind of talk about how creative, what you're tying them to, and it's a natural fit to tie it to UNLV Rebel basketball, and of course to the Golden Knights, which have been popular as well.
Yeah, the cross-sport sorts are a lot of fun. We have a couple props out there tied to the Knights. We've got a couple props out there, tied to UNLV. Some of the games, the hockey games, the NBA games that are going on Sunday morning, we have player totals in those games compared to something in the big game.
Right.
We've got a monster event that's really close to us here at Station Casinos going on Friday night over at Durango Station in that Power
Tell us
Slap.
about those props that we
Power
have
Slap 6.
Right.
Is going to happen Friday night over at Durango. We've got a really cool, I call it the swift knockout to Travis Kelce scoring in our co-main event.
Creativity at its finest.
Bathory and Catalina are the co-main event in a women's slap. We've got a first-round knockout, swift knockout to a Travis Kelce scoring a touchdown. You can get 5-1 on that price. And then Christopher K.O. Thomas is slapping against Emmanuel Muniz in the main event. We've got that fight to end in a Chris Thomas knockout to Christian McCaffrey scoring 2 touchdowns, and you get a 6-1 price out there on that. So some fun prices to be had there. Want to go back to the MVP before we talk a little bit more about some of the other props that you really like and have fun. We talked about Kelce, but another guy that's getting a lot of action on the MVP this is an award that seems to always be won by quarterbacks. Right. Tough for defensive players to win it. Tough for receivers because the quarterback is going to have a good game. And if a running back can go score multiple touchdowns and his teams win, then they have a pretty good chance. And I would say that McCaffrey, again, in his potential for 2 touchdowns and the Niners winning a game, would have an absolutely fantastic chance to win MVP. But the guy that's kind of out there at 25-1 that we've been seeing lots of action on is Deebo Samuel. Because I think he has that possibility to do things in multiple, we'll call it avenues, in that he runs the football, he catches the football, and he's always the possibility to take one of these sweeps and maybe throw a football. To where if Deebo Samuel can rush for a touchdown and catch a touchdown, and the Niners win, and maybe there's a little bit of balance in the scoring, that would be a pretty big achievement in a Super Bowl to rush and catch for one, and could make Deebo Samuel somebody to look at, especially at that 25-1 price.
I'm going to go a little bit further on a guy that it doesn't happen often that a defensive player wins the MVP, but I think when you look at the Chiefs' offensive line, who is missing a key component, and they've given up a lot of penalties on that offensive line, if this is a low-scoring game and Nick Bosa happens to have multiple sacks in this game, maybe creates a turnover, somehow maybe gets one into the end zone. I think it's 70-1. I think there's some value with Nick Bosa too because of the way these two teams play defense.
Yeah, especially when we talk about the matchup that Bosa is going to have. We know that the Chiefs.
I alluded to that just a bit.
The Chiefs lineman that's going to have to block him has had some, we'll call it, penalty problems throughout the season. I think he's one of the most penalized players, if not the most penalized offensive lineman in the game from a holding standpoint and an offside, or false starts and that type of standpoint. So he's definitely going to have his hands full in controlling Nick Bosa here.
Yeah, as you guys can tell too, there's no enthusiasm between Jay and I. We're not excited about it being, a Super Bowl week. It's just quite the contrary. It's so much fun for us, and just seeing all the guests that are coming out now. And I walked around the room yesterday, and I'm guessing at least 80% of the guests had a prop packet in their hand, and the other 20% was grabbing a prop packet out of the rack. It's people just want to, you don't have to like one of the two teams, but there's so many different ways to bet the game and have fun and be part of it. That's what makes this game so much fun. And I think with the game being here, you are going to see that occur. So as Jay mentioned, we love it when you guys come out, get out early, but sign up for STN Sports, because everything that we're talking about and everything that you're going to hear in the media and see leading up until kickoff, it's all available on the app.
Yeah, and let me give you a kind of an inside look. So there are props that are being kind of heavily wagered. Some of the money that we've already taken props on. We talked about those game props in the safety, the overtime, that we know that we're getting money on. But some very specific props that we're taking some money on. Number one, Brock Purdy interceptions, to have over a half of interception. We saw him several weeks ago throw 4 interceptions against the Ravens. We know that the Chiefs are going to be able to get some pressure on him. He does like to throw the ball down the field, so maybe that's why we're seeing some money on him to have the over a half interception. The other one that we're seeing money on is Brock Purdy rushing yards. Strangely enough, Brock Purdy isn't a guy that takes off a lot, but last 2 weeks ago in the comeback against the Lions, we saw Brock Purdy kind of, gump shit up, pull down and run the football a lot. His over-under was just 12.5 yards. So we've seen some over money on his over 12.5 rushing yards come in. You talked about the receivers. Everything with Kelsey is an over.
But don't you think, with that said, though, I don't mean to interrupt you, is that if you're Kyle Shanahan, the one thing you try to do is take number 87 out. So you look at Pacheco, maybe receiving yards out of the backfield. You look at Rice, his receiving yards or receptions. I think there's value on all those bets as well.
Well, you go into the Super Bowl, and is this an Isaiah Pacheco, which the Chiefs have tried to do? They've really tried to establish the run, get Pacheco going, control the game, and really win games with their defense in the second half. I think I've thrown this stat out there a zillion times to everybody, but the Chiefs in the second half, their games have gone under 18 of the 20 games that they've played this season.
Right.
So they don't score a lot of points in the second half. Their defense plays really good football, and the only way you can do that to play those type of unders is to run, and run. I don't know if I can say that I wholeheartedly believe the Chiefs are going to stay with a running game because it's the Super Bowl, and I want to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands and let him play the game.
You look at the last 2 weeks. What do the Lions and Packers have so much success with? I mean, the Packers, you look at it, Jones, he ran through that defense, and the Lions used that two-headed monster of Montgomery and Gibbs, and they were successful running the ball. So if you're getting Edwards-Helaire involved a little bit, if McKinnon's able to come back and play a little bit, and then you've got Pacheco, does that become, it's Andy Reid again. He's got that extra week off. Is that the blueprint to maybe beat the San Francisco 49ers, is being able to run the ball, control clock, and you've got a certain number 15 who, when push comes to shove at the end of the game, he's the guy you want with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and talk specifically about the Lions, when what they were able to do running the ball against the Niners. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line grades out as well as what the Lions offensive line grades out as, and so I don't know if this is a game that the Chiefs can continue to mash the ball. I truly believe we watched it. This will be the 7th time we've watched it that Patrick Mahomes is headed to a big game, or 6th time that we've watched it. They're going to put the ball in his arms and let Patrick Mahomes go cook, and we're going to see whether he's running the ball or he's throwing the ball all over the place. But I'd be really, really surprised if we don't see Patrick Mahomes involved in a lot of the offensive plays and kind of designed for him to kind of control the game.
If he is, that probably bodes well for you guys that are betting anything tied to number 87. Because I think I could see that as well.
We have, the other thing, obviously, everybody bets all the touchdown scorers. So you talked about everybody's cheering for the over. They're also cheering for just about every player in the game to score a touchdown. Not only to score a touchdown, but we've got Samuel and McCaffrey to score 2 touchdowns, Kittle and Pacheco to score 2 touchdowns. You're getting some 4, 5 to 1 on those guys, 10 to 1 on Deebo Samuel to score 2 touchdowns. So if those teams can find something that those guys are uncoverable or something in that defense, taking that shot on a guy to score 2 touchdowns, getting that big payoff price.
There's so many fun props up. I mean, all the same game parlays, the crossbar parlays, everything else that you can looking at. I mean, grab a prop packet, get onto the kiosk, download the app or sign up for the app, and just kind of scour it and look through it. This is our largest prop packet we've ever had. I think it's a tribute to a couple of things. One, the game being here, but two is that you guys love the props so much that you ask us to be more creative, come up with more, add to the wagering menu, and that's what we did this year. So grab a packet. They're all in blue. They're going to be circulating throughout our book here and through all the books throughout the valley, but the props really become kind of the game within the game and roughly make up about 50% of the overall handle on the game right now.
Yeah, and I make note of the very last page of our packet is already next year's big game and the odds to win next year's big game. We have the Niners favored with the Chiefs
before
as
the
number
draft
2.
And before free agency.
But all the people that are coming out from all over the country get a chance to get that early pick in on who you want to win next year's big game.
On your favorite team, so right. So guys, again, get out here early, enjoy everything we have to offer. Expanded hours this weekend to really make sure that you guys get opportunities to get your bets in and have some fun in our books. We love it when you guys come out, but again, a great time to get the app. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I don't know who we're going to root for, but I'm happy for whoever we do.
Oh, I think we're rooting for the Niners, and I think we're rooting for the under. And
under for sure.
The only last thing to add is obviously we're excited. We want everybody to come out, but I do encourage you, again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if you have that window of opportunity to get down to the book, sign up for the app, place your bets early, you're going to avoid a little bit of a line. There's no way around it on Sunday. We are prepared. We're ready. We're doing everything to get you conveniently to place that bet. But Sunday, there are going to be lines. Try and get your bets in early if you don't want to wait in those lines. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, going to be a lot quicker than trying to get your bet in on Sunday afternoon.
I think with that said, too, guys, is, with the packets out and everything on the kiosks and on the app, be prepared when you get to the window. It really makes the line move a lot faster if you're not handicapping at the window, but can come up to the window and you know exactly what you want. We're here to help you guys, but it just makes the entire process a lot smoother and a lot faster. So for Jason, Chucky, we're here at Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook. Can't wait to see you guys this weekend. We're extremely fired up and pumped up. Don't forget, get signed up for STN Sports. This is the Sports Betting Podcast bookend that is powered by Stephen Money and STN Sports. So good luck this week. Have fun and enjoy it. In Vegas, hey, this is what we're here for. This is going to be a fun and exciting week.